Hey gents, today I'm excited to take you inside one of the most historic leather factories in the country, let alone the world. It is the famous Horween leather factory right in Chicago. I took Carl Morawski out with me to shoot this video, and we both got to walk through and experience the entire place while asking questions and really learning a ton about the way that leather is created. I'll give you a brief overview of their history, and then I'll take you through their entire factory to show you how they create their famous shell Cordovan, their Chromexcel leather, and their veg tanned leather, which is then put into companies like the NFL footballs or the shoes you may be wearing right now. Horween Leather was founded in 1905 by Isidore Horween. Back then, Chicago was a major hub for farming, and the stockyards were there, so it became a hub for tanneries as a byproduct of the farming industry. And it's also situated next to Lake Michigan, which was and remains today an important water source for the tanning and dyeing process. Currently run by Skip Horween, and his son Nick Horween joined the company to be the fifth generation Horween to participate in the business. Most of their business today is comprised of their signature Chromexcel leather, their sports leather for basketballs and footballs, and their world-famous shell Cordovan, which is the original product that built Horween. The building is shockingly simple. Horween moved one time in their history in 1920 to their current location, which is a 10-minute drive north from the Willis Tower in downtown Chicago. It's a maze of a building where you can see multiple additions over the years as they expanded when necessary. It also creates a very pungent smell, piercing your nostrils where you can't tell if it's a seafood restaurant or drying seaweed on a shore, but you quickly get used to it. Speaking of that smell, let's start with the process.
So this is where we start. It's gonna smell a little bit like what you can smell outside. Yeah.
Everything starts as a raw hide. The hair is removed chemically with a washing drum and then pickled for 24 hours to help with the chrome setting. From here, they're moved to the tannage process where they're sorted for either chroming, veg tanning, or Cordovan. The blue leather you see will be chromed, the natural will be veg tanned, and then the Cordovan heads right to their first month-long salt vats. The leather is then split, shaved to smooth out, dried, and pressed. Here, Carl asked about corrected leather. Some brands say their leather is uncorrected, but almost every leather has some degree of correction to it. Tanneries are really trying to minimize variation across leathers to make it all look consistent. So first we'll follow some Chromexcel leather, and then we'll circle back to the process of their famous shell Cordovan. The Chromexcel process is the same one Horween has used since 1913, and from the time a piece of hide arrives at Horween to completed Chromexcel is about 30 days. From the sorting process that we just saw, the leather is taken to their first bath for chrome tanning. The machinery within the tannery is big, old, and beautiful in the best possible way. Some of it is unchanged for 100 years, and then you'll see some mixed in modern technology to help with efficiency and speed. Not only are the machines classic, but this is the kind of company that measures their employee tenure by decades, not years, which makes for excellent craftspeople at every stage of the process with collectively hundreds of years of experience creating this leather. Once the leather is chrome tan and dried, it's moved upstairs for coloring, wax, and polish. While taking a look at this beautiful red nubuck, we learned more about nubuck versus suede. Nubuck is the grain side of top grain leather. Suede or split is the byproduct of a top grain tanner, which Horween does not make but does export their splits to others' factories for suede production. Next, we saw one of my favorite parts of the process, and it was also the best smelling, and this is where the oils and wax is added to the Chromexcel leather through hot stuffing. The wax that they use is a natural lanolin, which we actually just used like a little bit of ham cream, and my hands smelled amazing for the rest of the day. After the hot stuffing, it all goes to dry, which is done with just some warm air, no major machinery here. A piece of Chromexcel leather will stay in this room for 10 days for the drying process. The leather is then hand finished and off to customers. You can get Chromexcel from many companies, including Allen Edmonds, Alden, Timberland, Wolverine, Thursday Boots, and many other heritage boot makers as well. My favorite pair of shoes with Chromexcel are the Chukkas that I had on the channel recently from Crown Shoes out of Northampton, England. Now on to the shell Cordovan. Made from tough horse hides sourced from Canada and parts of North America. From the time a hide comes in to completed, it takes about 6 months. So after the hides come in and go through their hair removal, they will have 1 month in a salt and water mixture, and then they are drained to have any remaining solids rinsed off. I asked about their water usage because there's a ton going into this, and John did say that they regularly work with the city to make sure they're cleaning out the water and putting as much back into the ecosystem. They actually treat it right on site, so they're using Lake Michigan as their source, but they're trying to put as much back and process as much as they can. The leather is then pegged to boards and spend a month getting vegetable tanned in these large vats in a proprietary mixture of tree bark extracts and other natural dyes that are the Horween family secret for generations. They're slowly agitated all day, every day for a month, and then they are sent to be sorted, split, treaded, tanned, shaved, retanned, and colored. And you can see that from a large hide that goes into this, you really only get a small piece of Cordovan, and this beast of a machine helps to get them that perfect, even finish. They're then hand finished again and sent to final drying. So pieces that we were looking at here have been perfectly aged, tanned, and dried for the past 6 months. I was curious about the shortening of the process, but John said that they've tried many times. They just can't get the same high quality result that they're famous for without the time that they spend drying and moving about the factory. While heading back through the maze, we did get to check on some new experimental olive oil tanned leather that looked pretty cool, and take a look at some of their basketball leather made for Spalding for NBA basketballs and leather for Wilson's footballs. Interestingly, John mentioned that the NBA ball will be used in practice for almost a year before it's really broken in and used in a game, in contrast to the NFL, where they'll finish the leather on a Friday, it'll be made that weekend, and the ball is then used fresh on Sunday's game. Now for a step back to talk about Horween itself. I've been through enough factories to see that this is not an efficient place, especially in an age where massive leather factories are built from the ground up for efficiencies that Horween can only dream about. There's also specialization in the industry where a major plant would do one entire line just to take care of something like the football leather, as opposed to it being one of several branches of the process, which is the way that Horween does it. Smartly, this has become Horween's competitive advantage. They're able to leverage the heritage of the Horween name and the processes, but also the boutique nature of their quirky ways. With relationships in the industry going back decades like Wilson, Alden, Crockett, and Jones, they can produce specific colors and lines for those customers without disrupting the rest of the process. They also have relationships and expertise in the sourcing of hides for Cordovan, which come from Canada and the US, that a Japanese competitor may have trouble replicating, which is where I'm starting to see more Cordovan come from. But that stamp of genuine shell Cordovan with a Horween name does carry significance, and Horween is smart to work with their heritage brands like Allen Edmonds and Wolverine, but also upstarts like Helm and Thursday Boots to make sure they're getting their name out there. You also see an upstart like Thursday Boots use the Horween name to give themselves a little bit more credibility. Horween also recognizes their opportunity in the maker market. They have a sub-brand called Tannery Row, which allows them to sell smaller batches of Cordovan to boutique makers for wallets and other accessories when a brand may not be big enough to order shell in sustainable quantities. So will Horween be around for another 100 years? Well, as the last tannery in Chicago and one of the last in North America, they definitely have the brand recognition needed to stand out in today's market, and there should also always be an appetite for excellent American-made goods, and they are the best positioned brand to continue to hold that market. So there you have it, gents. I hope you enjoyed that look behind the scenes at Horween Leather. Thank you to Carl for coming out and shooting that with me. I'll put a link to his channel below. Definitely check him out if you want to learn more. I think it's just really cool to see what goes into all the products that I talk about on this channel, especially as I dive in more to learn more about what helps differentiate products, the prices, the quality, and everything behind that. And so if you want to check out Horween, I'll put the link down below. And if you want to check out my American by Choice site, where I list all the sites that make menswear in the USA, I will link to that below as well. As always, questions, comments, I'll be down there. You can also reach out at _Kavalier on Twitter and Instagram. Until next time, gents, this is the Kavalier.